Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with a few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. The Drive-In Theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Whoa, what's going on, everybody? Hey,
yo.
We are back. It is another Monday night. It is 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You are tuned in to the Drive-In Speakerbox, the best in movie talks and film reviews. We used to play soundtracks and film scores. We can't do that now that we're not on a radio station. Thanks, copyright infringement laws and the internet. But we're going to be here for the next hour and some change talking to you about movies in theaters, movies that are going to be coming out, movies that have come out, all the stuff that's happening in the world of movies and stuff like that. Now TV, because TV's movies these days. Already got some chatter going on in our live video stream chat. You can check us out. You can tune in live if you may be listening to this podcast in the future. So hello, all of you future people. But if you're listening to it live or you're catching part of it, you can always go to our Facebook or our YouTube. That is Facebook or YouTube.com/The Drive-In Speakerbox. You can join in the chat. YouTubers can talk to Facebookers. Facebookers can talk to YouTubers. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. That's how we do it here on the Drive-In Speakerbox. And of course, I'm always your host, the Boom Operator.
I'm the Grip.
And we've got a fun show tonight. Tonight, the film we're going to be reviewing later in the program is Ford versus Ferrari, which we both call independently of one another. We have not talked to each other about it, so you'll be seeing that live here in just a little while. And we've got, some news to talk about. Just going to catch up in the chat here. We've got Johnny Dalton coming in talking about concession stand workers can't seem to grasp what a mixed red and Coke Icy is. That's cherry Coke. That's a cherry Coke Icy.
I mean,
why would you mix anything other than cherry in a Coke?
I don't. You got me on that one. You know what though? I like about our local AMC as opposed to our other local.
There's like
cinemas
6 flavors.
Is that they have like 3 or 4 of those make it your own, choose it yourself, like 500 different syrups.
The Coca-Cola like
remix. Yeah. And every like couple of weeks there's a new like flavor. It's like, hey, special for this movie, or like, yo, check out this holiday mix, or like whatever. You ever try those?
Yeah, I have a couple times. One, I'm gonna spit it right out.
And so you get to mix your own icy, man.
Yeah, that's one of the things at RAMC. You pour your own drinks. So
I didn't realize how much I was super into that until I went to one of those Indian movies that I like to go to at a theater where everything was behind the concession stand, and you relied on a underpaid teenager.
Excuse me, sir. Are you saying that you want to mix your Coca-Cola and your cherry ices?
Yeah.
And his little head explodes. There's one of those guys at I'm going to call a dude out. And if you're listening, dude, every time that you wait on me and I'm like, all right, I just want the pretzel bites and a hot dog, can you do it? And he's like, and he looks like a really skinny, more brain dead version of an early 90s Edward Furlong. Like, he doesn't look like he belongs in this decade. I'm like, dude, you needed to live in the 90s and he's always like brushing his hair, his bangs out of his eyes, and I'm like,
some hair in your popcorn?
Yeah. Do you guys like extra hair on your chili dog?
Where is this?
It's at our AMC.
Oh,
and he works during the days.
Oh, okay.
And because I always go in the afternoon. And I'm calling you out, dude.
Wow.
If you listen to the Drive-In Speakerbox, I mean, I'm thanks, but also get your shit together. And dude, like, working in a movie theater is kind of tight. If you want it to be.
I worked in a movie theater.
You didn't have good bosses.
That's true.
There you go. Anyway,
one of them was a angry lesbian, which is fine except for the angry part. But she was just really angry. You know, that was back in a time where it wasn't as accepted as it is now. Maybe that's why she was angry.
That's why she was angry.
But I think it was just that, like, she was just angry to be angry. And then after her was a extreme bigot. He was not okay.
That is not good.
Real not nice guy. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think you have a good point there, maybe.
You got to have a good team, man. That's what it's all
But then
about.
there was also like a 90-year-old man who had lived through every war in the 20th century and had all sorts of stories about it. He was kind of cool.
Back in my day.
One time I slipped on butter at one of our movie theaters and hurt myself real bad, and I was like, ew.
Actually,
and he gave me 2 free movies.
There you go. Look at him.
Yeah.
And one of the other things
Don't sue us.
you learn working in a movie theater is the secret holy trinity of making movie theater popcorn. And like if you've ever worked in a movie theater, you don't want movie theater popcorn anymore because you get sick of it. It's just too much of it. But it's
the only thing that you have. You get no discounts. You get no freebies. You can have minimal popcorn and some fountain soda, but you learn about all of the nasty things about these popcorns and sodas, and you don't want the popcorn and soda.
Well, you just get covered in
they
it.
let you
but,
have.
but if you want to make movie theater popcorn at home, Boom Operator is going to tell you the secret recipe. Here it is.
Use some ghee.
No, that's ghee on. You put ghee on top. That's after, like that clarified liquid butter. But that's not even it. That's a topping. You can do whatever you want with the toppings. I'm talking about the core foundation of movie theater popcorn is as follows. Get your kernels. You can get whatever kernels you want. Don't get those organic, multicolored pop, whatever craps. You want regular ass corn, and that's you start with good solid kernels.
Want that.
Here's the other 2 ingredients. It's only 2 things that everybody doesn't. Coconut oil instead of canola oil or vegetable oil or lard. No, it's coconut oil.
That's what they serve in the big slap sacks at the movie theater. If you've never slapped movie butter bags, now that's...
And it's also why movie theater popcorn is really bad for you, because coconut oil is really bad for you. I know everybody thinks that it's from coconuts and it's healthy. It's not. That shit'll kill you. And so coconut oil. And the last and most secret bit is Flavacol. It's popcorn MSG, and it's designed specifically for popcorn. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it wherever. It's only like, it comes in, looks like a milk carton full of this powder, and it's like a butter-flavored, salt-flavored MSG powder called Flavacol, 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 something, yeah, and you can find it, and that's all you need. You just need like a tablespoon of it into your popcorn while you pop it with the oil, and it's delicious.
Yeah, straight up, when you make popcorn, it's just tons and tons of coconut oil, and the butter is just more of that same oil you cook it in. You just put oil on everything, and then you put it in the popper, and you just get a scoop of yellow salt and dump it in. And then at the end of it, you might throw some more yellow salt on, and people are like, "Can I get more butter and yellow salt?"
Flavacol.
Awful, gross.
I'm telling you.
Popcorn's
Anyway,
gross. Learn
learn those secrets here right here on the Drive-In Speakerbox. Tell your freaking friends. Like, subscribe, share, smash it, trade it, whatever. We're Pokemons. Catch us all. What do you go? Put us in the comments in the chat there, or your favorite topping on. I know some people like to put the cheddar brush in. Some people I like to put milk duds in my popcorn. But it requires really hot popcorn.
Some people put that ranch seasoning.
Those people
on
are
there.
broken.
Some people put your M&Ms and things in your popcorn because you like to have sticky chocolate fingers.
Dude, yeah, I'm about sticky chocolate fingers. Anyway, let's talk about the news that's coming out, because it has been an interesting week in cinema. Everybody is still losing their minds over Disney Plus. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Actually, we're going to start with Disney Plus. Netflix has been kind of shaking a little bit in their shoes, because Disney Plus coming on the scene and the start of what is being referred to as the streaming wars are about to begin. And they've already been going for a little bit, but here's the thing: is Netflix is in trouble, because for the longest time, I mean, every place that pioneers something that's new always has a period of how do they stay relevant after everybody else is caught up. And Netflix basically was the one that paved the way for us to watch streaming content at home And it's now, you know, like what's the word? I know there's a word for it, and normally I would think of it, but when something becomes so commonplace that is the word for something, like a frisbee, any throwing disc is a frisbee. When you look something up online, you Google it.
It just becomes part of the vernacular.
There's a word for that phenomenon.
Like how a lot of idiots will call every tablet an iPad.
Exactly. Well, no, there's a word for that, and I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But anyway, that Netflix has become synonymous with watching movies at home, streaming, and that's a good thing for Netflix, but it's also a bad thing because it means no matter what service is happening, you know, they're just like, Netflix, even if they're not doing well. And what's happening here is now that all of these NBCs, ABCs, FX, Stars, MTV, ESPN, Hulu, Disney Plus, Stars, HBO Max, HBO Go, Showtime Stream, like all of these things that are starting to pop up that are streaming services, which if you go back and you listen to the old drive-in Speakerbox, the old boom operator predicted this a long time ago. The boom operator predicted this when HD DVDs were still a thing. I was on the radio.
R.I.P., man.
And I
miss you, HD DVD.
I was
you were the best.
They were good. And I was on the radio.
Blu-ray's trash.
Bostradamus over here, standing on my soapbox going, guess what, guys? Because I'm a big fan of physical media. And what I was preaching is that once we cast physical media aside, and then we cast cable aside because we think that, you know, piracy's easy. We can get access to all this stuff wherever we want, however we want, because the internet's free. The internet's never been free. And
now you have data caps?
I predicted data caps too. I said the moment that everything we need is online, that's when they're going to start regulating our data like they do
in other countries, in other non-American countries.
I predicted that 10 years ago, you guys.
I'm so upset.
10 years ago.
Cox was like, you owe us $5,000 because you downloaded half a meg over your limit. And I was like, what is this limit? This is America.
Well, you saw that AT&T recently had to settle a out-of-court lawsuit because they got caught.
Data caps.
They got caught throttling people on unlimited plans.
I was one of them.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us were. But my point is this: is I saw this coming a million miles away, and I was telling this to people about these streaming services. Is once they catch on and they figure out a way that, because they all own this content. They loved physical media because you were buying the media from them. And so what Netflix did is Netflix became a middleman for us to get this content. And so, you know, your Fox, your Disney's, which is now Disney, you know, all these other content creators were using Netflix to essentially go, okay, well, we want to get this content to the consumer. We're going to use Netflix to get to the audience. Just like theaters. It's like movie production houses use theaters to get their content to the audience. Remember I said that. It's coming back later in the show. There's another talking point that we're going to roll that into. And so Netflix was that place. And now that it's becoming more and more affordable and the systems are in place and the infrastructure is there and people know how to do it, Disney's doing their own. Stars is doing their own. So they're cutting out the middleman because nobody's doing cable anymore because everyone was going to Netflix. And they're like, well, we don't have to do that. We'll just do our own and you buy direct from us again. And how that's problematic for all of us is every time you want one individual deal, you got to go to whatever stupid service has it and find it and get it. And so Netflix, a lot of that content that they used to have access to is now being pulled away from them, like the Friends that we were talking about. And a lot of their movies, the 20th Century Fox movies and all the Disney movies and all the other things are getting yanked away because Warner Brothers wants to do their own now too. And Netflix is like, well, shit.
In addition to the DC?
Yeah, DC's trying to do their own, and Warner Brothers wants to do a whole separate
That's
one.
what I'm saying. If WB splits off, are they going to just combine it with DC like Disney is doing Hulu and
I think
ESPN
Warner Brothers is going to learn this lesson the hard way, and they're going to probably have to roll and bundle, kind of like Disney Plus is, because the Warner Brother catalog is, in my opinion, better. You know, it's an extensive category. I mean, the only thing that has made Disney Plus really, really cool as a streaming service is their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, because that television library of Fox is incredible. I mean, The Simpsons, what a win that was. But going back to the thing is now that you can get it direct from them, Netflix is in trouble because that's why Netflix they've been spending over $1 billion a year on original content, because now it's original content wars. Everybody's trying to find that content that's going to make people come to them directly. And
How are they spending that much money and still got nothing to watch on there?
Exactly. Because they don't have a library of built-up intellectual properties that they've been making since the 1940s, like 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers and Paramount and all of these other places. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And the only people that are going to lose are the viewers, are all of us, because we let it happen.
Johnny Dalton here, who said that he does the classic streaming, which is just catch bits and pieces of movies when he falls behind minivans. Drive by Speakerbox. You know the fold down screens?
I do.
You never watch like cartoons?
But that requires physical media. I don't even see kids doing that anymore. It's all on their phones now. You know?
I don't know. There's still some vans out there, man.
Man, bring back the minivan. So let's see. Johnny Dalton also says in the comments here from YouTube, my mother-in-law was charged $1,000 for streaming Hallmark movies on her Verizon hotspot.
I wonder if it's because it was a hotspot and they count that as like a public access port, in which case then you have to pay the same amount of money that like an establishment like a bar or restaurant would have to pay to show something on TV.
But also bless your mother's heart for streaming Hallmark movies.
Yeah, they're like, hey, thanks for being wholesome. Like...
Yeah, here's a lady we can scare into giving us money because she's wholesome.
Oh, you like your Lifetime movies that don't have all of the sex abuse? That's $1,000.
Vince says
that's all Hallmark is.
Vince says in the comments here on YouTube, he says, I tried Disney Plus for 2 seconds and canceled. Some of the movies already have expiration dates, and don't even get me started on the aspect ratio of The Simpsons.
And they altered Han and Greedo again.
Leave it alone.
This time to make it longer between the two shots to make it seem like Han wasn't ready for it. Had to take his time about shooting old Greedo.
That's insane.
Why not use the power to make it right again?
So here's the interesting thing that remember when I was just talking about theaters controlling, being the place where people go to get movies. So studios have to rely on the theaters. There was an old ruling in the 1930s that the Justice Department they sued a bunch of prominent movie studios of the era, and it was called the Paramount Consent Decree.
Well, we've talked about this on the show.
We have because a couple of years ago they were talking about overturning it, and then it kind of went away, and now it's back again. Because of Disney Plus and also because of Netflix. Disney and Netflix, because here's what they want. And this is going back to the Scorsese debate where, smaller production houses, smaller movie studios are not being able to get this theater time, but it's still really in the hands of the theater, even though companies like Disney are like, well, if you want to show our movies, you have to abide by these laws. But what the Paramount Consent Decree, they won the case in 1948, and they forced the studios, because back then the studios owned the movie theaters. So if you wanted to go see one of those new Warner Brothers talkies, you'd have to go to one of the Warner Brothers, like the MGM Grand. That is an MGM. Those theaters were owned by these studios, and they only showed their movies. And if you wanted to go see an MGM picture, you had to go to an MGM theater. If you want to go see a Warner Brothers picture, you had to go to a Warner Brothers theater. And now Disney wants you to go see a movie in a Disney theater because they don't want to share. Damn it!
That's fine. Set up like 5 Disney theaters in big cities only, so that no one can watch your stupid movies. And then every time it's like, oh, you see that real dumbass new Disney movie with Marvel having like a thumb in their own butt? Like, no, I don't have a Disney theater, so I can't do that.
And you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so
but like everyone else, like shares like normal.
This Netflix has been wanting to purchase their own theaters for a while now, because I think it was, what was the movie with it was a movie about Idi Amin in with Forrest Whitaker, and everybody got really...
The Last King of Scotland.
Yes, everybody got really mad because it didn't get nominated for an Academy Award because it never got released in theaters. And now Netflix is like, well, why don't we just buy some theaters and show Netflix movies so that we can get our movies nominated for Academy Awards? Because that's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to become a studio, because I think they smell what
The Rock is cooking,
what Disney's cooking, and it's like, hey, our time as the king ding-a-ling of streaming is running low, and so they want to get in. They want to become a production house, and to do so, they got to get more movies in theaters. They got to break that mold of people thinking they're only streaming content, and I think that's their move. No one's been talking about it, but I think the old boom operator thinks that's the game.
Isn't that why Amazon has their Amazon Studios where they put stuff out in select theaters?
Oh yeah,
it's like available on streaming and in theaters.
Yep. So it's terrifying, because this is not good for anyone if they overturn this court ruling, because in a lot of Politico, white-haired buttholes, money guys, they're like, well, we're still gonna have the antitrust protections that we can enact if it gets too out of hand. It's like, bitch, no one's done that. And look at all the shit that needs to have antitrust like things thrown at it, like all of the communications networks, all of these big media conglomerates, all of these retail conglomerates, and we haven't used any of that because you know what? We like our iPhones. We like our 2-day Amazon Primes. We like our 5G network coverage, and we're going to keep throwing money at it until
Unreal.
You're
one of the people that just referred to all smartphones as iPhones.
Well,
unreal.
I'm talking about all the people that love their iPhones, because they're the ones.
How do I make the icons bigger like that?
Those people.
I can never switch to Android because it's too difficult.
I just don't know how to do it. It's so hard.
Everybody that I've ever switched.
Settings, easy mode. Now it's an iPhone.
Everybody that I've ever switched from Apple products to literally any other products, they're like, wow, this is so much better. Why did I do Apple for so long? And I go, because
advertising.
Yes, advertising, marketing, and brainwash. So that's why you tune in the Driving Speakerbox. We're breaking the brainwash.
Hey, but if you're watching this on an iPhone or listening to it on
Thanks.
iTunes, we appreciate you.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts.
Shout out.
You can check it out.
You have the right to choose what you want to do, and that's okay that you use Apple products.
It is. Doesn't mean we don't think you smell bad. But anyway, so a little nugget of news for the grip here to sit and talk about. There is a cast reveal, an image reveal, and I don't know how he feels about it because I don't know if he even knew that it existed. But there is a Fast and Furious Spy Racers animated show that's coming out.
I remember when this was announced, when it was a thing that was in kind of like the formative stages.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about Spy Racers?
Well, probably going to be really dumb. That being said, there recently was a Teen Titans Go episode where they all got turned into werecars, and it was amazing. So,
oh my God,
it could be good. I don't know. Did you ever watch
Mask?
Okay. What? Well, yeah,
Mask.
Like the cartoon.
With the spy cars, where it was like, I have a convertible, or I have a car that has the wing doors, but that also, like, every kid that had wing doors is like, wouldn't that fly if you had wings on your car? And this one freaking did, and it was a little green motorcycle. It was like, I'm also a helicopter. It's like, yeah, dude, Mask was awesome.
I was gonna say, you ever watch the Starship Troopers CGI cartoon, the Roughnecks? Yeah, maybe it'll be like that.
I don't know.
Or maybe it'll be like the first incarnations of Clone Wars cartoons, where you're like, I don't know about this cartoon, and then it's like sick.
Clone Wars was pretty good.
Yeah, like the 5-minute ones where Mace Windu was still cool and Grievous was like a scary guy.
Yeah, instead of like a butt of every joke.
Yeah, not like CGI, let's bring Darth Maul back to boost these ratings, like nonsense show, but like the little Samurai Jack shorts. So
Ooh, Samurai Jack.
Maybe it could be good. You don't know. It could be fun for kids. I mean, think of all the dumb cartoon ideas that have been out there before, like, oh, let's make Beetlejuice a cartoon. And you're like, pfft. And then it was sick. Or like Addams Family. It's like
pretty sick.
Yeah. Or Back to the Future.
Which was pretty sick.
Not you, real Ghostbusters. You were terrible.
You shut your mouth.
You liked the real Ghostbusters?
Okay, not Ghostbusters Extreme and not Slimer in the real Ghostbusters, but the real Ghostbusters was a fantastic cartoon.
But it wasn't the real Ghostbusters.
Yes, it was.
No, it was like way different characters.
No,
with a
it was
blonde.
Egon, a blonde Egon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was still the four. And no, dude, that show was great. I think you're thinking of one of the other ones because there was like 4 iterations.
They were all bad.
Shut your mouth.
They were all bad.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That's the jam right there.
Why is Egon blonde?
And the music in that show was really good. Oh, and McLean over on our YouTube comment said Sam and Max was really good. Sam and Max was on an amazing cartoon show based off of the 1990s adventure LucasArts adventure point and click game. Sam and Max hit the road, one of the greatest adventure games ever made. Where's my Sam? I thought I have a Sam figurine somewhere.
I got a not blonde Egon up there.
Oh man, Sam and Max. Oh, so good.
Anyhow, I mean, maybe it could be fun.
Oh, dude, can we dress up as Sam and Max one year for Halloween? Because you would be because we're the right height differentials, and I could be crazy, and you could be like straight-laced detective, and
that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. We could be Sam and Max. We could hit the road. Anyway, all right, okay.
Get a magnifying glass and just be clueless.
That would be good. Okay, we need to get back on track here because I wanted to talk to you guys about. I know I said we're gonna talk about Disney Plus for a minute and talking about all the problems with the antitrust laws and the Paramount streaming services. I've watched The Mandalorian. I've watched both of the episodes of The Mandalorian.
I've watched all 2 episodes. Isn't it only like a 5-episode series right now, like a season or something?
I don't know, but it's trash. All right, internet, listen up. This show is terrible. It's absolute garbage butt. And I'm going to tell you why, because at the end of my speech tonight, I'm going to prove to you and change your minds to understand that while you might think that you like The Mandalorian, it's actually a terrible, 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 terrible show.
As everything Star Wars has been since Disney took over.
What Disney has done...
Except for you, Freddie Prinze Jr.
And I'm calling it Lone Wolf and Groot. Is now the name of the Mandalorian, and the problem with the show is they're doing what I called and this changed everything, was the Guardians of the Galaxy bait and switch. They figured it out in Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, they figured out how to make a movie that is a terrible movie that has some pretty fun parts in there. Some moments, some parts that make you laugh, that make you smile. But when the credits roll, you don't remember shit.
None of it made any damn sense.
None of it made any sense. And then you leave going, oh, that was pretty good, I think. Because you laughed. There were parts that made you laugh, and there were some parts where you're like, oh, that was cool. That thing that I just saw just for that second was cool.
And you're like, how come Academy Award nominees and winners Glenn Close and John C. Reilly were not in that movie? Like that? Thoughts like that?
Thoughts like that. But what they do is it's like a magic trick. You know, they're like, look over here at this shiny thing, and then boom, they pull a coin out of your ear, and you're like, oh, wow, it must be magic because I didn't see the coin out of the ear. And it's like a shitty magic show that at the end you're like, well, that was a couple cool parts, so therefore it must be cool. And that music was fun because I like that music. I like Hooked on a Feeling.
Soundtrack the movie.
Most people remember because you love those songs. You love those things, and they're just like grabbing that and going, we know you love these things. And because you love these things, then we are beyond criticism, because then you'll hate yourself if you hate these. And no, don't let them trick you, because I'm going to say it. Baby Yoda was fucking cute. It's the most adorable thing that I've ever seen on screen.
Those things that's sparking some big arguments online right now, especially calling it Baby Yoda.
I'm going to tell you right now, whatever that creature is, whatever its name is, everyone's referring it to Baby Yoda. It is one of the most adorable things I've ever seen created out of a creature animation studio in my life. It's cute, and it taps into that part of being a human being that's like, oh, like everybody has a piece of that somewhere inside of them, and the Disney evil brain that's sitting in a jar somewhere under the magic castle in the Magic Kingdom that is like, and it came up with this perfect creature that's like, nothing will stand in this creature's way. No one will question its cuteness.
Dude, Disney activated your biological clock, man.
Dude,
you got baby fever right now.
It did that with every human on planet Earth right now. It's like, we can't question baby Yoda. And here's the deal. Okay, yeah, it's cute, but it doesn't mean that the show is good. It's the worst thing to happen in the show because you are so focused on the cuteness of this thing, goo gagaing around and trying to do force. You're like, oh, that's cute. It's a YouTube thing. They're using everything that we go and get nuggets of clips and GIFs and all the stuff on YouTube, and how we pick apart this bite-sized content to get bite-sized enjoyment. And they're injecting it into this narrative that has no narrative. Because the thing that would have made Mandalorian cool is, I don't know, Cowboy Bebop, the show. It's like you got some cool characters that are space bounty hunters. You want to tell one overarching narrative in an episodic fashion where every episode is kind of like this fun encapsulated adventure, but then there's something that's tying them all together, that the story that you're following and caring about and wanting to see the outcome of, kind of like why Deep Space Nine was so cool.
Everything about Deep Space Nine makes Deep Space Nine cool.
Because each individual episode stands alone as an episode, but falls into a larger story. But then the Mandalorian, it's ripe, it's perfect, and that's why I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna save my judgment, because dude, we have a character that could literally chase a different bad guy every episode, going around hunting down bounties, getting into stuff, and then there's one big kind of thing that guides it all together that we want to see the end of, right? It could be small stakes. It doesn't have to be the end or fate of the universe every time, and that is the Disney way. It's like, it's all or nothing with Disney. And then baby freaking Yoda shows up and it's like, oh, well, I've hunted one bounty in the first 4 minutes of the show because I'm a bounty hunter. But now it's the classic formula of tough guy and a baby. And it's just...
Why do all Mandalorian, like, why are the only on-screen Mandalorians bounty hunters too?
No, he goes through a whole Mandalorian city, and there's little Mandalorians and their dumb Mandalorian helmets playing stickball, and it's really ridiculous when you think about it. But lore aside, Star Wars lore aside,
because it doesn't exist anymore. Disney got rid of it.
Structurally, the show is terrible because there is nothing happening in either of these episodes. There's a couple of neat sequences like, yo, IG-88, which wasn't IG-88, it was IG-11. That scene was kind of neat because we've all wanted, anyone that's a Star Wars fan has wanted to see an IG robot kick ass, because most of them, we've never even seen their freaking feet.
Or get murked by my boy Bosk.
Yeah, and most of the time, we've never even seen an IG unit move. But now we get to see that, and it's like, okay, but what did they do? Didn't set up any story, didn't set up any character. They're like, Taika Waititi is the laser guy. And you're like, oh, that scene was neat. Did it make any fucking sense? No, it didn't make a lick of sense. And it didn't even fit in the story. It's like, oh, well, because he's here in lasers. And because we wanted to see it. Oh, guess what? Baby Yoda, he's cute. And now we're going to just lean on this freaking crutch for the rest of the show when we don't have a good idea for making a show. Guess what? We need a scene. Put in Werner Herzog. Everyone's going to use the internet to make Werner.
Hold on.
There's a whole scene with Werner Herzog being Werner Herzog, and I love Werner Herzog. It's like a Werner Herzog scene is great. Does it make any sense? No.
Yo, hey, so I saw a timeline that shows that this takes place like after episode 6, but before new trash bullshit Disney movies. And since they murked Max von Sydow at the beginning of episode 7, could maybe they bring in my boy Max von Sydow, and that would be sick.
Well, this show doesn't even know where it's at.
I want Brewmeister Smith, man.
This show is the Tooth Fairy. The show is the movie with John Cena and the kids. This movie is
Playing with Fire, the actual movie that I'll review later on the show.
This movie is Tough Guy. Did you watch it? You didn't say.
No,
okay.
No.
It's Tough Guy with a Baby. It's Mr. Mom. It's it's a dumb formula.
Mr. Mom is a good movie.
But it's a dumb formula. It was a good movie because they've invented the formula, and it was just there's no substance here. It's like, oh well, guess what? We're gonna do a whole episode where he learns how to ride a horse for no reason, and we're gonna go see the Jawas because why? I don't know, Jawas, and it just was. It doesn't have any focus here.
Is that true? What Johnny said there is that stormtroopers in the show were part of the 501st. They just hired cosplayers instead of making their own or using their own props. They were just like shout out to get all of the
Probably. It's like, hey, we don't need to pay for production. We'll get nerds to be in it for free.
Yeah, straight up. Hey, if you ever get into Star Wars cosplay and you look into the 501st Legion, they have lots of weird, strict rules you have to follow. Like if you want to be an Imperial Guard, but there's already 2 or 3 of them in like your local 501, like you're not allowed to be an Imperial Guard. You got to choose something else. There can be only like 1 Vader per region or something. It's crazy, dude. They're like way too serious about it.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. But the Mandalorian, reading some through the comments here, it's like they tried to do, the Porg thing. They're like, how do we develop a toy that can never be ignored? And that didn't work with the Porg, but they kept trying to dial it in. They're like, we got to find the one thing that bridges the gaps between young audiences, new audiences. It has to be cute. People are going to want to buy it. People are going to get the toys. We've got Everyone Loves Boba Fett, so we can make the Boba Fett action figure that all the boys are going to, the fat old mouth breathing nerds are going to want to get. They're not going to want to open the boxes. But how do we reach the kids? And then how do we reach everyone else's? And then there's the baby freaking Yoda. I promise you, those are going to be on store shelves before Christmas.
There was already a Mandalorian action figure. He was released as part of the
Star
Baby Wars Day.
The Baby Yoda. It's going to be a Tickle Me Baby Yoda. There's going to be a Feed Me Baby Yoda. There's going to be Walking Talking Baby Yoda. There's going to be all the, raise him at home, like Force Baby Yodas.
Are they going to fall in the trap that they fell with Solo, where they're trying to give an origin story that no one wants or needs and actually ruins the character? Because as far as Yoda and Yaddle go, they're the only 2 known of their species, and they're going to try and generate an origin of the species by showing this little baby, and that's going to ruin all mystery about the characters.
Of course, because
like,
they don't
I know that Yoda's 900, and no one knows where he came from, and no one cares, and Yaddle's like 450 or whatever, and everyone forgot where she came from too. They're the only 2 anyone's ever seen of their kind. But here's a new one. We found out where they came from, and now it's not a mystery. And
yeah, midichlorians, dude. That's what I'm saying. Too much information is a bad thing. Anyway, not happy with Mandalorian. Think it's trash. I think that it is pandering to the lowest common denominator of why the Disney formula is bad. Yes, we can laugh at things. Yes, we can smile at things. Yes, a laser fight can be cool. Just because it's cool for a second, does it mean that it is good? No. And you should be able, as an audience, to be able to determine the difference between that was a cool scene in an overly, by the end of it, kind of terrible piece of trash. It's like, man, the seats in this piece of crap car are pretty comfy. Does it make it a nice car? No, it means it's got comfy seats. And we do it with everything else. Like when we're eating a meal and we're just like, oh man, I just went to this restaurant. Oh, the steak was crappy, but the broccoli was good and the asparagus was well done and the cocktail was tasty, but man, that steak sucked. Would you have said that the whole meal was amazing? No, you'd be like, well, that part sucked. You pick and choose. We need to be able to do this with Disney content. And anyway, so moving on. I don't want to talk about it anymore because we need to start reviewing movies and telling you what comes out in theaters this week. Speaking of the Disney Monster Train, again, going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, Disney was responsible for almost 65% of ticket sales last year, the entirety of theatrical ticket sales. That's scary. But this weekend, coming out in theaters, of course, going to continue the train of Disney money, Frozen 2 coming out. If you didn't have enough Frozen 1, they have to do more because more money.
That's guaranteed money right there.
Oh, yeah, especially coming out right before December. Get out of here. They're just going to start the printing press, throw that money, get those Elsas out there, and the other one. Does she even have a name?
Anna?
Yeah, I don't know. The one that doesn't have magic?
I've never watched Frozen.
Yeah, I saw it once, and I was like, oh, God.
There was that one 50,000-minute long Frozen mini movie that you had to watch before you got to cry at Coco.
Yeah, and that was...
I saw that.
And then they stopped showing it because everyone hated it so much.
Yeah, they're like, why am I watching 500 minutes of Frozen before I get to be sad about... like Mexican grandmas, like
why am I watching 5,000 minutes of this brain dead snowman going doo, 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 for like ugh, guys, let me watch Coco. Like that movie hit you in the feels.
Yeah, I was not about that.
That's what we
sucked.
We need more movies that hit you in the feels.
No.
Yes, dude. That's why I'm excited about Soul. I think that movie could hit us in the feels.
I cried in public at Coco. That's not okay.
Did you like ugly cry?
No, not that much.
Oh, man. So, anyway, Frozen 2, you know what it is. You know about it. We're not going to talk about it anymore. It doesn't need our assistance. Anyway, let's see. Coming out also that I'm still up in the air of how I feel about this because I feel like this is a cash grab based on the success of the documentary about Mr. Rogers, which was amazing. But then they're like, well, let's make more money off this dead guy. And it's the new film, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, with Tom Hanks playing, of course, the role of Mr. Rogers based on the true story of real life friendship between Fred Rogers and this journalist that I guess wrote a lot of stuff about him.
Tom Hanks is just all about that playing real people thing, huh? He played Walt Disney in that movie where it showed that Walt Disney sued the creator of Mary Poppins, or was sued by the creator of Mary Poppins, and then ruined her life. But he was turned out to he was portrayed as the good guy because he was Tom Hanks.
Well, everybody likes Tom
America's
Hanks.
little boy. And then he was in that one movie about like newspapers or whatever. And now he's Mr. Rogers, like he's the epitome of wholesome.
He's everyone's bosom buddy. If we need to go back and Google that one.
Yeah, but he was also in Bachelor Party, and that movie rules.
He was in Bachelor Party. That was a good. Was Bachelor Party where he stuck his pecker in the bucket of popcorn, or was that a different movie? I'm pretty sure it might have been.
I don't know. Bachelor Party had wild stuff happening. He drove the bus.
And that drunk horse. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on in Bachelor Party. But Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood coming out in theaters this weekend. Might go check that one out. Although there's a couple other movies that I do really want to see. Also coming out from director Brian Kirk is 21 Bridges, starring Chadwick Boseman and J.K. Simmons. I think a lot of people are going to be really weirded out that it's he's not Black Panther in this, but I am hoping that Chadwick Boseman will branch out and not get stuck into the Marvel pigeonhole. But Taylor Kitsch is in this movie, which generally tends to be a bad thing. I like Taylor Kitsch,
so you have,
but he is a movie ruiner for some reason. I don't know why, but the trend of movies with Taylor Kitsch in them.
You have Black Panther, you have Commissioner Gordon / J. Jonah Jameson, and you have Gambit all in the same movie.
It's true. It's true. Vince says that, and the YouTube comments, he said the popcorn was Porky's. I don't think the popcorn was Porky's. I want to say that was a different movie. They never went to the movies at Porky's. Trust me, I know my Porky's.
What about Porky's 2?
It might have been Porky's 2. We will see. Because, man, Porky's is a movie that would not fly in 2019. That is an interesting film there. But 21 Bridges coming out in theaters this weekend. And another movie that's coming out...
21 Bridges is the same plot as... the first as Batman Begins or whatever, right?
Yeah, where they close off all the
bridges.
Yeah, close all the bridges to the main island to catch these guys. But also coming out, I don't know if it's going to get a wide release, maybe a regional or expanded release this week. But I do want to see it. It's from director Todd Haynes, starring Mark Ruffalo, Tim Robbins, Anne Hathaway. It's called Dark Waters, and it's about this corporate defense attorney taking on an environmental lawsuit against. a chemical company. I want to say it was, which one was? It's not Dow, but one of those big DuPont or one of those big ones, and exposes a lengthy history of pollution, and it looks pretty good.
Look at that! You have a movie with Catwoman and Hulk in it, based on an episode of How I Met Your Mother that had Joe Manganiello, who plays Deathstroke. Look at all these
people.
Thought we were gonna get away from talking about comic books. There you go.
But as Johnny corrected me the other news, it was DuPont. Yeah, it is DuPont. But yeah, that one looks pretty cool, and I think that's pretty much it. That's going to be a nationwide release. There's a couple of limited release movies coming out that you're never going to see, so we aren't going to waste our time with them.
Oh,
what? Spirits in the Forest?
Is that the Depeche Mode movie?
Yes.
One night only.
Is it playing here?
I don't know, but you should look for it.
I want to see it. It's called Spirits in the Forest.
Yeah.
It's a Depeche Mode 2017 kind of global spirit tour. I've seen Depeche Mode in concert once, and it was a fantastic show, even though Dave Gahan was still kind of battling with, I think he had throat cancer or something that he was struggling with. But the dude is a powerhouse. Love me some Depeche Mode. But yeah, I would really love to see this documentary if it comes around here. But it's getting a pretty limited release.
They're showing it in Tulsa.
Are they really? Damn.
Yeah, that place where we met all Joe Bob Briggs.
Oh man,
they're gonna have it one night only.
I would really like to see that because I love me some Depeche Mode.
Thursday, it's on the 21st.
That's not a good day. Craps. I'll have to look and see if I can find it around here. But anyway, that's what's coming out in theaters this weekend. Let's get to the reviewings. This week we're going to be talking about the film Ford versus Ferrari. We both went and saw this film. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big car guy. I'm also not a big racing guy. Not a big, any of these things. The Grip is all of these things.
Except I don't like either Ford or Ferrari.
But you like racings?
I do like racing. Yeah.
So let's just start with you. Let's start with you because I've been talking for a minute. So James Mangold directing, starring of course Matt Damon, Christian Bale, John Bernthal. All these folks.
Jason Bourne, Batman, and Punisher all up in
all in there. Here. And so take it away.
I think one of the Suits guys is one of the dudes in a Hulk movie. Josh Lucas, I think he's in a Hulk movie where he like pushes Hulk around or something like that. You know what? Before coming here, I had gone to the store yesterday because I had seen a Ford GT Mark II, the GT40, in the Gulf Petroleum light blue orange paint, as it was the one that won at Le Mans, and I could not find it, so I'm bummed out about that. But so Ford versus Ferrari is the mostly true or kind of true story of a real event where Ford Motor Company attempted to purchase Ferrari when they were bankrupt, but as the story goes, Ferrari would not sell them the racing division, which was the one portion of it that Ford was aiming to obtain, and therefore Ford made it a point to beat the hell out of Ferrari on the racetrack, and to that end, they designed and built the GT40 and achieved that goal by winning at Le Mans. And this is the true story of the build-up to that and their first 24-hour of Le Mans win over Ferrari. Overall, it's a pretty entertaining movie, I don't know if you really got into it at all, or
I actually liked it a bunch.
Enjoyed it, but as far as historical movies go, fairly accurate. You get some entertainment out of it. But there is a lot of stepping away from actual historical events that kind of detracts you from it if you know what's going on. And that's always hard in movies about real people.
Well, and I think that's something that we end up talking about a lot on the show because we both are kind of detail-oriented and we both kind of enjoy history and especially when people make movies about things that really happened, mm-hmm. We tend to pick them all apart the most. But with this movie, I know, of course, like who doesn't know Carroll Shelby. I mean, everybody should know who that is. And I only know who Ken Miles is just because of, just historical record kind of stuff. I didn't know a whole lot about his life. I didn't know, but I did. I looked at it, I was like, oh, well, that sounds interesting. And I looked it up. And the same with the name Lee Iacocca. It's like, I've heard that name before. I remember him kind of being a big deal somewhere in history, but I don't know a whole lot about him. And, of course, who doesn't know Henry Ford and Henry Ford II? And of course, everybody should know Enzo Ferrari's name. Like, if you ever went to junior, or if you were a middle schooler that had a Scholastic book reader program, you'd get those posters, and it was just this is what you did. Anyway, I thought the movie was pretty fun. Like, it was able to take something that was a moment in history that wasn't a war or a battle or one of these things that tend to be about these kind of movies, but it still had that kind of gritty American sort of like patriotic without being flag wavy, which I thought was kind of cool. Of course, because you had Ken Miles, who was not, of American origin, and, you had the Ferrari was not necessarily a bad guy in this movie. It was just a competing, inspirational sort of like, we want to get to where they are, and without and racing. There's something about racing that is not NASCAR that to me, it's kind of like the World Cup. In a way where it's, where everybody's kind of in on it, that not just America and, Le Mans, like, it's kind of why I like Monaco GP kind of stuff, Grand Prix, enduro racing, and like all that kind of stuff is kind of cooler in my mind because it's more anybody's game.
Sure, but this is still a true story.
This is a true story
of America and Britain uniting forces on French land to defeat
the Italians. And then it's fun and it's cool, and no one's getting killed, and it's like a gentleman's thing.
I mean, I wouldn't say no one's getting
on
killed
on purpose. But the problems I did have with this movie is, I thought it was shot well. I thought it was edited well. The performances between Matt Damon and Christian Bale were really great. Christian Bale was fantastic, and I think he's a jerk, but he did a great performance. I thought John Bernthal was pretty cool in this movie. He normally plays like a big, meat-headed knuckle dragger, but he was pretty cool, even though he was heavy in it in the first, and then he kind of fell away completely.
Yeah, but this was the story of the creation of the car, and really with the two men most responsible for it being Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles. And
what I didn't like was Josh Lucas's character being, it's like
having to have a villain.
They had to have a villain, and it's like, no, the villain is the situation. How do you overcome the situation? That should be enough of but they had to make this whole story with this like corporate fat cat butt kissing
mid-60s dude who like you gotta have like your real Mad Men, like
sniff up the boss's butt even though I don't know what I'm doing, and it's like it's the everyman's enemy, where you're like the white collar jerk that doesn't have any skills, and you're like, I get it, I don't need it. He was a little much, and the other thing that I thought was a little much is I thought it was a little too long.
Oh, really? When I got out of the theater, I was like, oh, it's late, but I didn't mind the movie being that lengthy. The things that bothered me was just when they stepped away from historical accuracy to make it more movie.
Yeah, well, of course.
I
know you hate those things, but I don't mind those as much because I understand it has to be a movie.
I understand that it helps a broader audience, but being that it is completely based in history with real people and real things and real everything, to change crucial parts of that history, it could misshape a lot of people's view and understanding of that, and the real events and critical portions of that. Because do you have to give a spoiler for real history?
No.
So semi-spoiler. It goes from the inception of the GT40 up to the death of Ken Miles while testing a new model, the J platform or whatever. Yeah. And so the way that they do that, they tie it into something earlier in the movie that they create a theme, a running theme for, so that you can be like, oh no, that part that I was so worried about earlier in the movie, or, or something that the movie showed me earlier, rather than what had actually happened, which was very important to history and racing and Ford and cars and everything, which was that the car, when he died in the testing facility, rolled and flipped, but it was designed with those honeycomb panels that they talk about to not do that, and that's what caused them to put a NASCAR style tube cage within the car, which then later saved the life of Mario Andretti, who is another gigantic figure in racing. And when you change crucial parts of history like that, it not only affects the story in the movie and actual happenings, but it reshapes people's perceptions and understanding of things like that. And I think that's dangerous.
It is. We've talked about that many times on the show.
So I understand why you would do that for a movie, because it makes it more movie. But when you're dealing with real history, you don't always have to movie it up to make it good, because this story's popular for a reason, and because it's real, it happened, and it's a true, incredible tale of
some incredible folks,
of people wanting revenge, sticking it to someone else because they can. Because they got screwed over, and they're gonna
show them what's for.
Get theirs, yeah. So Ferrari won 4 Le Mans in a row, and Ford came back and won 4 in a row.
Or was it 4 or 5?
66 through 69.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But again, going back to what I said about it being a little long, I thought that there was 3 really crucial races that they went through in the movies of him driving this car around, and there were, to me, in the beginning, every scene that you saw him behind the wheel, it was powerful, and you're gripping with every turn and every shift and every pedal that pushed and every RPM rev, and
they went a bit fast and furious with the shifting, always focusing on the shifts.
I know. So that when you go home, you can feel like you're doing it yourself. And
it's like they showed him driving at Daytona. They're like, you got to keep it under a certain RPM, and you can only do this and everything. And then at the end, where he's like, I think I'm going to win it in the last 2 seconds. It's going to last 5 minutes of screen time. All of a sudden, he has 2 extra gears he decided not to use in the rest of the race. It's like, this 4-speed is actually a 6-speed. No wonder I wasn't winning.
Yeah, it was that was kind of silly, but for me, it was like by the time it got to the Le Mans, like the big important race, I'd seen so many of those like gritty, in your face, like feeling like you're there in the car moments that I was kind of spent on them, and they weren't as powerful. So when he's like gripping the turn and making the perfect lap, like the perfect lap should have felt really powerful for me, and it didn't.
The kid on film had a lot of emotion. He sold that really well, but it didn't have the build up for the audience as it should have.
Because I think they should have saved a lot of that, like that man and machine working as one moments, like for that, so that you would have felt so like, why is there more detail in this particular, and you're seeing all that stuff happening, so you're like, oh wait, everything's working in unison, and this is the perfect lap. You would have gotten into that lap with the characters instead of just being like, okay, well, there's a 6th gear now, there's okay, he's pushing the gas, RPM's a needle, we've seen it, all right, hugging the turn, okay, the brakes are heating up, yep, okay, all right, next lap, and he that was a really good time, and then you had to be reminded by the kid, you're like, the perfect lap, it's not like Goof Troop over here, or Maxie's over going, the perfect lap, Maxie.
Goof Troop was another sweet cartoon based on a movie.
But you didn't see the perfect cast many times. And once you saw it again, you're like, the perfect cast.
Yeah, when you saw it again, he was on stage with Powerline.
It's true. And you were excited about it. You're like, he's doing it, and it's there. And you did the perfect cast with him.
So overall, though, it is a very entertaining movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm not a race fan. I'm not a whatever fan.
Yeah,
I thought it was good.
Matt Damon and Christian Bale both did really well, and the family of Ken Miles was pretty good, portrayed well on film.
Yeah, there was a really good moment that I thought was tastefully done and very cinematic, but very important. That got a lot of it was so much emotion in a movie that was about racing and and cars and machines, and it was the scene. And when you go see it, I just thought the scene was really, really powerful, to where he wasn't invited to go race because they thought he was too much of a loose cannon, so they left him behind in the shop. And he's sitting there and he's listening to the race because he needs, he's hearing the things like, oh, they should have done this, they should have done this, and he's so entrenched in this moment. And his wife shows up, because she knows what's going on. And instead of doing what a lot of movies do and just default to let's have the sex now because we need a sex scene, it was like this big buildup of this guy who is so gruff and so rigid and so whatever, and he doesn't break down, but you see the importance of this relationship, and you see so much of the bond that they have with each other in that one little moment where she's like, he's trying to I'll turn it off. And she's like, no, keep it on. But, let's have this moment. And it was this weird kind of unspoken relationship moment on screen that made those characters feel so real to me. I don't know. You'll have to see it, but I thought it was a really, really, really good scene for whatever reason that didn't have to end with a passionate kiss or throwing her up against the toolbox or any of that cheesy Hollywood bullshit.
Yeah, it was good. They didn't try to force a lot of that into the movie, but they portrayed him as a good family man really well.
Over here in the comments, YouTube, Johnny Dalton, there's a question for the grip.
Well, hold on. Do you see where he thinks that it's Donnie Darko references all through the movie here? I don't think that.
I didn't catch that. But yeah, waiting for this question here. Is it better than Days of Thunder?
It's more accurate to driving.
Oh, yeah, because Days of Thunder was you remember, I think they partnered with Hardee's. And you could get little Matchbox cars from Hardee's, and it was all Mountain Dew and cheeseburgers.
Well, Days of Thunder has things where he's talking into the headset quite a bit and having full-on conversations, and the spotters don't really help him with racing and stuff like that. And in a sport like NASCAR, where your average speed is over 200 miles an hour, that's your average for the race, because those cars routinely ride at over 200 miles an hour for the entire race. Your spotter is very important, and they're like, hey, there's a wreck or something. I don't know. And he's like, I'll just power through the smoke. Oops, I wrecked. Not gonna happen. It's stupid. So I don't know if it's better, but it's more accurate. Johnny said they should make a film about the Honda Civic too. I don't know how interesting a film about someone being like, what if we took this motorcycle engine and then glued a second motorcycle engine to it, and then we shoved it into a car that, get this, is front wheel drive because commuters. And they're like, you're saying if we take this K car and we put this dumb engine in there, we're just going to sell millions of them and they're going to be commuter little turd boxes? Yes. And then maybe one day we'll load them down with fart cans and just turbo the boys up and spool off like idiots, and it sounds good to me. Spoon. Yeah, not gonna be a great movie.
Did you ever have his Honda Civic?
Yeah, 6th gen Honda Civic.
6th gen Honda Civic.
Yeah, EJ8.
You tuner boys in your little cars.
Yeah. Had a B18 C1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
One of my friends just got his old CRX back, and we're talking about tuning already, man.
Tuning boys.
Yeah. Hey, Vince asked, he said it sounds like a good movie to catch on TV, or ask if a lot of the race scenes need to be caught in the theater.
I think it's more powerful in it. There's a lot of the
sound is really good for in the cabin of the car. Mm-hmm. They really separate inside and outside of the cabin of the car really well. So a lot of the,
which, and I'm going to tell you right now, capturing really good car and race sounds, engine sounds, is very difficult to do.
They do
this is coming from a sound guy.
They do a good,
really hard to get that, because normally it's so loud and it's so peaky and you can't control it. But they did a really good job.
They distinguish the noises of the 6 and 8 cylinder engines really well, to help give the car a different character from the Mark I to the Mark II, things like that. So it's there at the beginning. It falls by the wayside because you don't really need it. But they do use sound to help change the character of the car as well. So in the theaters, probably the better place to watch this movie. I don't think it's as long as you made it sound. I mean, it's a longer movie.
I didn't feel like it was long when I left. I was like, oh, that was too long. My point was, with the length, it made the Le Mans scene less powerful. I still enjoyed it. I wouldn't.
It still occupied a good chunk of the movie.
It did, but I just feel like if they had trimmed some of that other racing scene out to make it a little shorter, and use that to just focus more on the Le Mans, it would have. To me, I think it would have felt a little tighter. But I didn't complain about the length. I didn't walk out feeling it was too long. I think that it just could have been tightened if that clarifies what I meant. Okay. Well, there we go. Ford vs. Ferrari in theaters right now. You can check it out. We did. It's up to you. I think a lot of people would enjoy this movie. All right. Is there anything else that we needed to? Did you wanted to talk about Fire Guys or whatever that
Playing with Fire?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. John Leguizamo, John Cena, Keegan-Michael Key, children with a Nickelodeon studio backing it all.
Nickelodeon is wanting to partner up with Netflix really hard to kind of combat some of this Disney Plus, and I'm about it. Nickelodeon, you stay true.
Johnny said that the movie was good to watch with a family, and I think it is a pretty good family. The Ford vs. Ferrari.
Yeah. A family could check that out. Well, all right. Well, let's go over the box office roundup for this last weekend.
Here comes our boy Fundamentals talking about the NSX and the F1 days. Now we're talking.
Here we go. You gonna read the comment? You gonna read the comment for the podcasters?
Yeah. Honda NSX and the F1 days gave Ferrari a run for its money, but with the Ford versus Ferrari and the streaming wars, competition is great. But let's talk about NSX and the F1 because you ever watch Initial D? We're talking about drifting and the originator of drifting, who is featured in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift as one of the two fishermen, really pushed that NSX to its limit in the F1s, and he was super badass. Look that stuff up.
Eurobeat intensifies. Yeah. I don't have any reference there. I don't know anything about the stuff that the words that you just said. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Any other car talk?
No, that's it.
Let's car talk with Click and Clack. We can talk about cars. There's some good car movies. Name two other really, really good racing movies that
Daytona. Hold on. Yeah. What am I thinking of? Friggin' Talladega Nights.
Okay.
And
that's not where I thought that was going to go.
Oh, that's a good one, though.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Is that a racing movie?
No, racing.
You said car movies. You said car movies, bro.
I'm just about racing. I mean, because we're going to talk about movies racing? That are car-centric. I mean, I really liked The Italian Job. I mean, the Mini Cooper scene. You were supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Death Race.
Original. Death Race 3000. Yeah, Death Race is that's a Carradine classic.
Mm-hmm. With Stallone.
Stallone's butt. Yeah, there we go. Cars 2.
Oh, American Graffiti. There's a car
American
movie.
Graffiti. That's a pretty good.
It's about movie. Drag racing, and Harrison Ford flips his car.
He does. He does.
What's that movie? What's Rebel Without a Cause? You get drag racing off a cliffside.
Oh yeah. Well, Vince says Cannonball Run. Melina says Cars 2.
Oh, when we went and met Joe Bob Briggs, he had a lot of negative things to say about Cannonball Run.
He liked what did Gumball Rally. Yeah, he liked that one a little bit. Anyway, all right. Well, let's do the box office roundup for the last week. Of course, using my IMDb Pro account here now, where we're used to have. I don't like that they don't have the box office in a clear or the budget. Now I have to do more work I don't like it. But we're going to give you the top 10 movies in America of last weekend. This is domestic numbers only. That means here in the States. That's where most of the decisions are made to make new sequels and all this stuff. So we're going to give you the top 10, starting with number 10, work our way up. We've got the number 10 movie in America, Harriet, from Focus Features. Actually, you know what? I want to mention this because, wow, what a drop. This is really bad. It's a 60% drop, which is huge for movies. It dropped from number 5 to number 11, and it was Terminator Dark Fate.
That's what you get.
Third weekend in release. Paramount Pictures. Ouch.
Dude, the longer it's been out, the more and more people that are like Terminator fans are like, it sucks. Because it's like, oh, Terminators are super cool. And they're like, oh, you like Terminators? Forget Terminators. And you're like, but the movie's called Terminator. I'm like, yeah, forget Terminators, man. Hate that movie. It's trash. I'm glad that it's just...
I didn't hate it that much, but...
Yeah, but you don't get it.
What? We're going to have to talk about this later, after the show. Grip. See me in my office. Number 10, Harriet from Focus Features, bringing in $4.5 million in its third weekend release, bringing in $31.6 million in its run. Number 9, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, in a fifth weekend release, bringing in $4.9 million to Walt Disney. Again, House of Mouse bringing in $105 million to the box office so far for this one. Number 8, Joker from Warner Brothers, bringing another $5.3 million in its seventh weekend release. Another 7 weeks. That's a long time. Bringing it up to $322 million. It is, again, like we said last week, in the $1 billion club.
Officially crossed.
It is there. I knew it would be, but it is there. Officially, I think one of the most profitable comic book movies. Again, there's a difference between profit and how much money that it made. It has made a lot of profit. Number 7, The Good Liar from Warner Brothers, opening up at the number 7 spot with $5.6 million, but only opening up in 2,400 theaters nationwide. So that's not a huge release, but it is. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any higher than that, but I don't think that it had any intentions to. But number 6, Dr. Sleep from Warner Brothers, bringing in $6 million at the box office in its second week in release. $24.8 million domestic take. Not as good as I think they wanted to, and it's not going to get any better. Number 5, Last Christmas from Universal.
It's getting a lot of praise, though.
It is. It's a good movie. I mean, we talked about it, not last week, but the week before. You can rewind a couple of episodes. Apologize to some of the people that tried to check out our podcast only. The MP3, the audio version was, we were a couple episodes behind, I think, but we've got that fixed. We've got that remedied. Episodes are all live right now. You can subscribe on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, you can find. Just search for The Drive-In. Speakerbox, spelled Drive-In with a hyphen, and Speakerbox, all one word. You can find us there. Last Christmas, though, bringing in $6.4 million at the box office in its second weekend release, bringing in $22.3 million. Vince asks us over on YouTube, he says, do you guys know when the old podcast episodes of the Drive-In Speakerbox will be up on our favorite podcast player? Mine only goes back through March of 2019. That is a really good question. We have been talking about that because there is an years of archives here that won't have as much fun metadata as the ones. I mean, they're long, and there's music, and there's all kinds of. It's a very different show. It's a great show, but as our producer just put there in the comments, in the future.
Well, unfortunately, there's probably going to be like a year and a half gap on those from when there was no recording done.
There's going to be at least one empty year, but they go back a really long way.
Unless there's a way to go back in Periscope history and find things from like 2 years ago.
We're just going to start our own Speakerbox Plus streaming service. So for $9.99 a month, you'll have access to all the episodes in the vault. And we can deliver them to you.
Oh, but then we'll put some back in the vault. You got to wait.
That's right. Yeah.
Capitalism.
All of our Halloween, our famous old Halloween special episodes will be locked away for premium subscribers. Because, dude, those were like, that was a couple of Halloween episodes that were like 3 hours long of just all these cool film scores. It was awesome. But we will, we're hard at work in those, Vince. We appreciate you wanting those episodes. Let's see. Number 4, Playing with Fire from Paramount, bringing $8.3 million at the box office. The second weekend release, coming in with $25.2 million at the box office. Number 3, Charlie's Angels, opening up at the number 3 spot from Sony, bringing only $8.3 million on its opening weekend. Not a super strong opening. But not a super strong movie. I've heard it's really bad from people that went and saw it that would probably like movies like that. They were like, it's not that good. And I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah, I already saw articles calling it a flop and all that. So,
well,
suck on that one.
Yeah, what were you thinking? Sony. Number 2, Midway from Lionsgate in its second weekend release, bringing another $8.5 million.
That movie has 2 Disney princesses in it.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. $34.8 million domestic run so far for the Roland Emmerich directed film from Lionsgate. And the number 1 movie, well, you had a...
Oh, that's a bummer for Midway, man, because it had over $100 million budget.
Yeah, it was an expensive one.
It's good.
I think it's going to have a little bit more staying power through the holidays.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people talk about it or say something that they just learned that it was out. I think it's still getting good press, and
I think
it's still doing good money-wise, so it's getting more attention.
Thanksgiving is going to keep it in the top 5 for sure. But with Frozen coming out, Frozen's going to come over and punch a lot of these movies. I think Frozen's going to knock down Last Christmas quite a bit. It's going to knock down Maleficent, which who cares because that's another Disney one. I think it's going to go ahead and put the coffin nail in Terminator. And Playing with Fire, it's going to give Playing with Fire a big ass run for its money because all the people that are taking their kids to see Playing with Fire are going to take their kids to see Frozen. So I think Playing with Fire's got maybe a week left and then it's going to be gone. So
well, at least Playing with Fire, they probably won't come out of the theater singing and wanting to buy things.
Toys, yeah, and wanting to ruin my life with another hit song that I can't.
This time every character has a song.
That's vomit and poop. Number 1, number 1 movie in America, Ford versus Ferrari from 20th Century Fox, bringing $31.4 million in its opening week.
That's way big compared to everything else.
That is way big. Pretty sizable chunk of change coming in for a movie that had a budget of $97.6 million. So pretty good return on an opening weekend. I think it's going to stay strong through at least Thanksgiving into December. And speaking of December, we are going to have, for those of you that are watching the live stream, we're going to be having some holiday decor in the next couple episodes. So it's going to get, I know, look at the Grip's face. He's super excited about it, but it's going to get festive in here. It's going to get Festivus for the rest of us. So
we're going to air our grievances?
We will. We always do. That's part of the Drive-In Speakerbox. It's the Drive-In Speakerbox way. So anyway, all right. Well, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. Again, like and subscribe, comment, tweet at us, send us an email, whatever you want to do. Get a hold of us. We're here for you. We're public servants. So, in a way. But anyway, we will see you guys next week. I'm Boom Operator.
I'm the Grip.
Later, dudes.